Hello, Dominic Scafidi, and welcome back. It is so lovely to have you back on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Rachel. I was thrilled to come back. I Our last conversation was just beautiful. I've loved it. So
Yeah, it's
yeah.
been very popular with people. I've heard good things in response.
Yeah.
So today we're exploring from a beautiful feeling, but we're going in the direction of health and well-being. And it seems like the good place to start this conversation is to ask, what do you feel innate well-being is? What does that look like to you?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I the word that resonates with me um uh even more strongly than well-being and then health is the word thriving. That word is strongly resonant, is thriving, our innate thriving. um what is it? It is, especially when it comes to, the teachings we understand or are exploring, like three principles. um Sydney Banks said there is, um, the energy of all things. Um, some would call that God. It's an energy of all things. And then he said that you and I are a microscopic aspect of this energy of all things.
Hmm.
Um, so we're inseparable. We are a speck, right, of that. And it so when you think about that, this, um, the energy of all things. That was his description of mind, which was one of the three principles is mind, and that is, an intelligence, the energy, the essence. And when you think about mind and that, infinite, it is infinite, eternal, right? Well, the thing about infinite is it implies expansion. It implies expansion. In order for there to be infinite, it must be expanding. And so, why do I say that? Because if it isn't, it's finite. Yeah. Without expansion, you're describing something finite. My computer screen, which is this, horizontal kind of rectangular thing, it is finite because it stops. Right? That's as far as it goes. Um, if it For infinite, there would be no stop. It would just keep going. So you say, um, that's cool. So then it would go on forever, right? With no distinction. Um, but at any point, it must keep going. It must expand. And what's odd about that is to say, but mind, or this energy, is the energy of all things, and it is whole and complete. It is whole and complete. Well, there's a bit of a paradox right there. What do you mean whole and complete, yet expanding? And what we say, what that implies, it is continually becoming more of itself. It expands to express more of itself eternally, without end. So, something about the direction of that I would describe as thriving. And that is where health is. And that is what well-being is that unrestricted, unresisted expansion, that unresisted thriving. So that's innate health. That's
Mm.
innate well-being.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so all the cells in my brain are just all getting scrambled here. Okay, I love this. This is like a cosmic understanding of innate well-being. So this sense, because I love the word thriving, I love the word flourishing, it's and and they feel like they're directional. There's a moving towards, and what you've just done is put in a bigger piece of the jigsaw. It's like then, yeah, we're moving into the infinite all the time. And that's both a moving outwards and it's a moving in, isn't it? It's a
Mm,
moving deeper into our being, closer to our true nature, closer to ourself as that microscopic piece of
yeah.
spirit. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I love how you brought the both sides. It's an outward and inward and outward and inward. Which by the way, notice that how mimicked that is in our breathing. Okay. It is it is breathing is exactly like that. And when you think about I'm not breathing, you're not breathing, breathing is happening, you're not doing this, right? So there it is. There is the reflection of what this energy is. This energy is moving outward and moving back inward. It is out and it is that rhythm, that cycle that is going on all the time. So there is a movement to that.
Yeah. So that makes me think of ebb and flow
Mm,
and and it makes me think of the cyclical nature of nature, you
right,
know, the
right.
the in breath, the out breath, the yin, the yang, the times of incredible activity and vigor, and the times of rest and renewal.
Mm.
So this is this is a part of the natural order, then, isn't it?
We see it everywhere. Like when you describe that, I mean, it's kind of funny. It's like, but it's everywhere. It's all around us. How do you miss it?
Mm.
It's not only is it all around us, how do you miss it? It's as close as your breath. How do you miss it? There's only one way to miss it, and we're lost in thought. But that's another story we'll get to, but which also gets to this point of more health and maybe not health.
Mm.
Um, yeah,
So can we say then that when we're not experiencing what we know of as health, and I guess maybe we should define health.
yeah.
I mean, loosely, what comes to me is the the body working optimally, the mental realm working optimally, the emotions good, a sense in which there's nothing alarming happening, things are working in good order within us. There's a harmony and a flourishing that's happening.
Yes, the flourishing, the flourishing, that thriving is is happening. It's happening without effort. It is simply allowed. Um, when trees grow without effort, flowers grow without effort. They don't clock in every day, put in their 8 hours, right? and and kind of grow some distance that day, and then the next day they clock back in and put in the work take to go further. They're doing nothing. They are, when you look at plants, when you look at animals, there is an allowing of a movement. There's an allowing of an energy to move them and move them, and it it um, causes thriving, maximum, always maximum thriving under those conditions. That tree will move to its maximum expression of that energy in those conditions.
Mm.
They're never less than that.
Mm. Mm.
There's nothing they can do to ever be less than that. And that kind of might give us a bit of a hint later about us humans. That might be a bit different. But a tree cannot and does not and will not resist that energy in any way.
Yeah, and moves with it naturally. I'm thinking of here in the UK with the spring coming out, like over the last 10 days, it's just slowed down a bit because it got colder. There was suddenly snow on the mountains again here in the north, and just looking around, we're kind of seeing everything just holding back a little bit because the conditions are not so optimal for it to all spring forth at the moment. So there's
Mm,
that innate responsiveness that is going on all the time. And this is also a quality of health, then, isn't it? To be in
yeah,
innate responsiveness, in innate relationship with life, and not, as you are hinting at, not resisting that.
not resisting. Yeah, you describe something really well, because there's a slowing down right now, which you could say, oh, but I thought you said it was thriving. And then if it was thriving, then how come it kind of paused, or why is it slowed? Thriving should be continuing with momentum. And this is where the the this energy is intelligent. That's, when this energy is the um, intelligence of all things. No disconnection. Right? So when you look at what the earth is doing and what the climate is doing and what the temperatures are doing, that information, that movement is not disconnected from what that plant and tree is doing. The intelligence is all in all of it with no separation. So as temperatures drop, it it is included. That information knowing is included in what is maximum thriving requiring, given all of that information, all of that intelligence. It's just indivisible, and every part of it just moves.
Yeah, so it's not like an individual plant just carries on its trajectory regardless. Like it's
Yes.
got some coding that says this is what you'll do, as you say, 8 hours clock in, 8 hours
Yeah.
clock in. Yeah. There's an eternal conversation going on, isn't there?
Mm, yeah. Yeah. And there's no figuring it out, like uh oh, wait a minute, plans changed here. It's a little colder than I had thought, and it seems colder than it's been the past few weeks. I need a new plan. What do I do now? And recalculate and come up with something different, a new strategy here. No plant is doing that. It's sort of, we could say, is it all of that stuff is included in the knowing, and it has all been calculated. It is all accounted for. Otherwise, this energy would not be a very all-knowing energy, would it? We say it's an infinite intelligence that is the all-knowing, right? Well, if it didn't know that it's getting colder, then that's not a very all-knowing, all-knowing. So it is all-knowing. That is all included, and it is indivisible from what's happening here.
Mm.
So with with the plant is simply is allowing the movement without resistance. Now, plants have no choice. they don't, they weren't created with that sort of consciousness to go off in different directions. So at some point we'll get to what a human being does, which is a bit different. It's a different creation, a different idea. But a plant doesn't have that option. That's not a thing. It's just simply a consciousness that continues to express without resistance. Yeah.
And has ways of, well, it will just naturally express its distress if the conditions are suboptimal. And we see
Mm.
that with houseplants if we haven't watered them properly or they're
Yes.
in too much shade and not enough sun or vice versa, that they start to go a bit brown and look a bit sad and things happen that show the movement away from thriving,
Right.
that show that organisms starting to struggle and suffer.
Mm.
So its being expresses distress through what we might call symptoms.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So far, there are some similarities, certainly with us humans. Shall we move to humans and see
Yeah, I think that's a
what's the
good.
deal there?
Yeah, I think that's a great place. And if we go to the breathing part, because that most of us haven't tried to take that over, I think, right? Maybe some people have, and they say, oh, there's, a better way of breathing. That's your problem. You're not breathing right. You should do it differently, right? And so then some humans have tried to take it over and figured out the more optimal way of breathing and all of that. But mostly we wouldn't touch that one. And as far as our need, when you think of what we need, breathing, air is essential to this physical body. Without air, this physical body wouldn't last long. Right? The next one would be water. And without water, it'll last longer. But again, given enough time, it won't last. After that, and I take this from teachings of Bashar, that's a different channeled consciousness than the one I usually, which is Abraham. But the third one, which was a bit of a surprise to me, is sleep. So it comes ahead of food because what happens is without sleep, you can't last much more than about 20, 21 days. You imagine if you didn't sleep 20? I can't
Don't want
imagine
to imagine.
4 days. Can't imagine 4 days, but you basically be dead if you just somehow weren't, right? So there's something about a renewal that's happening in sleep. And then food after that would be the next as far as a physical need. So anyway, it's interesting to note most of us wouldn't touch the breathing one. Most of us would kind of say, oh, I don't really know about that. I don't quite understand it, but I'm just going to leave that one alone. But let's talk about water. Now, water, I think we've done some studies and there's a certain number of ounces and all of that that we need. So I need to make sure I'm drinking properly and I need to, right? So there we will start to engineer it, right? Sleep, we are engineering, right? I don't think you're getting enough sleep. Sleep is really important. You need to get more sleep. You should be tracking your sleeping. You should be checking it. You should be right. And so, right, there's a way to sleep and don't have blue light on and all that. Like there's, so now that part we're starting to take. And let's not even get started on food, because that one, we're all over that one. That one where we are for sure gonna do that one in the best way and tweak it and optimize it for maximum thriving, right? What? What do you mean for maximum thriving? What do you have any sense of? Sydney Banks talks about the infinite mind, the divine mind, the energy of all things, and then there's the personal mind. There's my mind, there's my consciousness, my thinking, right? Which now is finite. That's how we distinguish between what's infinite and me, which is finite, as a microscopic aspect of all that is. This is finite. So who I am, let's call it, there's two perspectives. There's a perspective of me focused in a physical body, and that is a finite perspective. That is a finite perspective. So it does have an end to it, right? However, it's indivisible from what is infinite. So the end is arbitrary. The limit is arbitrary, right? It's not actually there, right? So there is no end limit to an aspect of energy, right? However, I'm focused in a physical body, and it varies for each of us. Like you say to me, who are you? Well, look at me. This is who I am, right? Well, what do you mean? That's who you are. Don't you see this? This is my physical body. Who I am is this, right? And then there's, people who look at that and kind of inquire about that and go, but wait a minute, but I don't end here. But who I really am isn't just stuck here, imprisoned. I'm not imprisoned here, right? There's something about me that's beyond this. So anyway, but that'll be depending your understanding. You're going to be in various levels. But let's just say, in all cases, as long as you are physically focused, this perspective is finite. It is not infinite. The physical perspective, the personal perspective, is a finite perspective in all cases. Why is that important? Because here's what we can say with a guaranteed to be true. That physical finite perspective is a less intelligent, all-knowing perspective. Can say that guaranteed. It
Yeah.
is less intelligent, less all-knowing, with innate wisdom, with an innate indivisibility from that infinite, right? Because it's not separate. So there's an innate access to all knowing, infinite intelligence, right? So this is just needed to kind of bring us into the picture and to put us in our place.
Yes. Which you've done beautifully, because I love what you're saying about our our limited persona, this sense of self as the human body being, with absolutely undiluted access to infinite wisdom.
To all of it.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah. Because it's
Undiluted
both of
access.
those things at once. And that's what's so, we sit in the eye of the paradox, don't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So so then here we are. And it's funny because there is this focus, physical focus, which is the way most of us are interacting with each other, is physically focused in this body and using this body to sort of explore and live life, right? And this is a tiny aspect of full consciousness, of all consciousness, but it is a focus, a physical focus. It is a perspective of consciousness. um the idea that um you're in a physical body with trillions of cells organized in various systems within the body. Now, could you imagine how you you take a tiny intelligence like mine or any, right? Take this tiny intelligence focused in a physical body with trillions of cells and very complex systems. And I'm like, what's going on around here? I think I'm all about thriving. And I got to get this figured out, right? And you sort of like, oh my God, who would do that? Who would focus into a physical body to figure it out, to figure out how to keep it going, to figure out how to thrive it when there are trillions of cells and complicated systems? Do you know how awkward that would be? How silly that would be? We don't do that when we, I want to go to the grocery store. So what do? Well, I'll get into my car and drive. Well, hang on a second. How? How's that car supposed to work? I I have no idea how that car's supposed to work. I just kind of get into it and I have my intention, which is to go to the grocery store, and I'll just go. Wow. Are you kidding me? You don't even know how the car works. Well, it does something, I guess. And there were people who care about that kind of thing that designed it all, right? But I don't need it in order to go for a drive, and I don't need that understanding in order to wherever. Well, why not? Because I'm just enjoying the scenery. I'm just here to enjoy whatever. So, and now the metaphors break down because there is a certain caring for the car and all that, but we'll get to that in a second. But I don't need to understand it. In fact, they've designed these cars in such a way as the indicators will show up so that I can't screw it up. So as long as I follow the indicators, the car will just operate. Oh, so I don't have to think about my car? No, you should just kind of think about your life. You, you just like think about what you want to do, right? You didn't come here to figure out how to operate a car. You just came here to live your life joyously, in thriving. And you would use this vehicle as your way of enjoying this life, right? Wasn't your job to figure this thing out? That would take you several lifetimes. You still wouldn't have it figured out. There's trillions of cells. There's all kinds of systems. How would you ever figure this out? I mean, doctors and scientists have been working on this for thousands of years. They haven't figured it out. What makes you think you can?
Wow. That puts it in perspective. Yeah. I think for me, it's like I think the more that I've become happier with being in my body, like, when you said the word thriving again, I just felt myself. It's a word that makes me come home to myself, really deeply. I felt myself just settle in another layer again, and just that sense of it knows what to do.
Mm.
My
Yeah.
own wisdom knows what to do. My body is conscious. It's it's the reflection of my consciousness, I should say. And in
Right.
that sense, it's conscious. In that sense, it's showing me things. It's feeding back to me all the time. But in terms of the mechanics of how the tree grows, or how my body does what it does, or how breathing happens, that's something I can rest in and let be. But there's also something here about that I do want to notice when it's not doing that like it normally
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
Because that is how I get feedback, isn't it? That's how this consciousness is physically expressing. So now we tend to think that when the body goes outside of its normal realms of expression as we expect them, or as some medical system dictates them to be, when your blood pressure's above this, or when my um, heart rate feels like it's going above that, whatever it may be, when it goes into an unusual expression outside the parameters that are considered normal, then suddenly we're thinking that the body's malfunctioning. Suddenly we're thinking that something is wrong there at
Yeah.
that level. Whilst I think what I'm seeing more and more is that that's the body functioning beautifully, for one, because it's giving me some feedback in this living moment about this living moment and where I'm sitting in it and how I'm sitting in it. So I don't want to suppress that. I don't want to turn it off with some medication. I want to first and foremost, it seems to me, I want to come into relationship with that. I want to hear the expression and see what it's telling me. And I can't hear that if my mind's busy. I can't hear that if I go into thinking what's wrong, what do I need to do, what should I fix here. I hear it by coming into the quietness of my own well of being, coming
Yeah.
into wisdom, and letting the whispers start to gently guide me through my own common sense that, oh, maybe this is bothering me. Maybe this thing that I've been doing is not in balance for me. Maybe something's on my mind. These ways that we have of sensing, and then I'll know what to do. Something will occur to me. Now, it may be to ring the doctor, it may be to go for a walk, it may be to go and lie down, but something will occur to me from that quiet that has a quality that's not about fixing, but that is about tending, attending
Mm.
this conversation, coming into communication with what is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's resonating. There's just a very natural movement. In other words, you are moved. You are moved. Um, it's so funny because it is like I'm thirsty. The cells of my body are there is consciousness in every cell of my body, and the that intelligence is is asking, right? That intelligence is asking, and in the absence of nonsense, it's the way I would say it. In the absence of nonsense, I would be moved to drink, right?
Mm.
I would now nowhere along the lines? Do I say, oh my God, something's gone wrong? I have this feeling right now, and I'm feeling like parched. I'm feeling, who the hell does that?
Yeah.
You just like get a drink. Just get a drink and drink it.
Mm.
Like, what is wrong? Like, why is that a wrong thing? and and I must have done something wrong. See, because if I had been doing right things, I wouldn't have felt that discomfort. I wouldn't have gone into that. See, something went wrong in my body, must be my fault. It's like it's the most normal thing going on. Have you ever been hungry? Yeah. What did you do? You eat, right?
Mm.
It's
Mhm.
like, so there's a normal part. We don't go to something's wrong. There's just a responding, a dancing with it. And, to your point, you better not be suppressing this. You better not be denying this. That's got to be the dumbest thing you could do is to not be present to this intelligence which is expressing through this physical body. I might suggest that that intelligence is probably a pure intelligence, sometimes more intelligent than some of the concoctions we come up with, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because what that makes me think of is the harshness with which we view the responsiveness and expressiveness of our body when it's telling us we're coming out of balance. The way that we are, um, I mean, modern medicine can be quite brutal, you know. We kind of cut things out, poison them out, kill the pain. There's a
Right.
lot of war waged on the body trying to tell us something that's actually to do with our spiritual evolution, our connectedness to our true nature, our centeredness in who we are. So that the way that we can talk to or dismiss ourselves can be so brutal when when the body is just trying to tell us something simple.
Yeah.
And when we make that something that we've done wrong, then that is like another layer of harshness.
Mm.
And what can the body do? What can the emotions, what can the mind, what can all of these realms of our being do when we put that harshness in? All that they can do is reflect back to us that that makes us uneasy, uncomfortable, and in pain and distressed.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so the body shows us more distress in response to the distress we're heaping on the distress, and we wonder why we're not getting better.
Mm. Yeah, that's when you point to that is like again, without doing anything, there is an energy that flows through and it simply expresses itself. So that intelligent movement toward thriving is um, contains or is known in a feeling of ease, right? This is what it is like it's in a feeling of ease. And so that's important, right? Because this whole about how's our body communicating and all of that, well, from what is a feeling of ease? What is a feeling of ease is non-interference, non-resistance. It's really non-doing.
Mm.
A flower grows with ease. It
Mm.
doesn't effort, right? So in a feeling of ease, I let go into an energy that simply moves me toward thriving, right? And includes physical thriving. I'm there's an ease to it. The difference between flowers, animals to some degree, and human beings, right? So human beings have different uh, part around consciousness, and a flower has no ability to resist. A flower, the consciousness of a flower cannot contradict,
Mm.
cannot contradict the energy of all things. Animals generally cannot contradict. So a bird will build a nest, will lay eggs, they'll take care of the young, all of it instinct. We say it's instinct. That is that intelligence, that innate wisdom that goes through. And you don't see these birds gathering in protest. We've been building these damn nests for thousands of years. It's about time somebody built them for us, right? You don't see this, right? They just do what they do. They're just nudged by this intelligence and they just do what they do. So, but we are different. So for us, from a consciousness perspective, we have one freedom that is not available in other consciousness, so we could call this the highest expression of that consciousness so far. It's probably arrogant to say that us human beings are this, but whatever. We are arrogant, so we can say it. Well, but the one freedom we've been given is total freedom, and that total freedom means the option to resist, to oppose that intelligence. An animal cannot.
Mm.
So a beaver will build a dam, a bird will build a nest, and a bear will hibernate. We don't have to, and you can't make me. so, so we have been given a different aspect, which is this pure freedom to allow and to resist, to oppose, right? And so within that becomes, this isn't a negative entirely, it's what gives us the creative potential. We can create anything. If beavers are cool, they can build these dams or whatever, except they've been building the same dam for thousands and thousands of years. Whereas if you look at us, the house we build today is not the same house that we were building for thousands and thousands of years. So we don't have to follow, but as a result of that resistance and opposition, we create a contrast which evokes a different kind of creation and possibilities. It evokes possibilities that take us further and further and further in the expansion of our own consciousness. Yeah, so something important about that.
Yeah. Yeah, and it comes with the nonsense that you were talking about,
Yes.
the choice to be in the nonsense in our heads rather than listening in to that
Yes.
intelligence. And but there's something I want to come back at in the heart of what you're saying there, which I think for people listening, is, well, we want to be surely coming into alignment with that intelligence. We want to be making space for that. We want to be getting out of the way and letting it do its job in us and through us. We want to be an expression of that.
Hmm. That
And
sounds that sounds intelligent, but go
yeah,
on.
yeah.
But go on.
And yet we don't seem to do that.
Yes. This is the freedom we've been given.
Yeah.
We don't have to be intelligent. No one can make us be intelligent. So, but this is now the how do we listen?
Yeah.
How do we listen to the body? How do we align, calibrate, tune to this wisdom? It's so funny. Like animals don't have to, birds don't have to, trees don't have to. They just are aligned, right?
Mm.
It's okay. We've been given other possibilities. And so we need a different sensitivity because we actually can move away or in. And in the word ease, I think becomes the answer.
Yeah.
When we give up, when we are not handling it, when we are not figuring it out, we feel ease. That's why most of us, the breathing just happens and no one gives it a second thought. And if you run, you go for a run, your breathing will change. And then when you stop, it kind of goes back. And most people don't manage it. They just like let it go. So with the ease, it's optimally and intelligently handled. The moment we begin to think about it, we experience less ease and start to move to more of a state of dis-ease. And then we'll move to dis-ease, of less ease now. And your body is continually a perfect reflection of that state of ease and dis-ease, which you hold within you. Your body's a perfect reflection of it. It's wonderful to have because that you can never stray from your wisdom very far. This is why the body's so important. I think the body needs to be honored more than it is. We honor the mind and my thinking and what I'm feeling and all that. But, you can do all kinds of bullshit in your head. I'm okay. I'm really okay. Yeah, no, I know my best friend died, but I'm okay. I'm good. Like you can do all that if you want in your mind, right? And sort of pretend, right? But the thing is, your body will always be the perfect reflection of the truth.
Yeah.
The truth of that ease or dis-ease, which you actually hold within you. It will never be different from that. It will always be like a mirror imperfect. And here's the cool thing about the body. The body is there's all this talk about, you need to be in the present moment. You got to be now. Well,
Yeah.
here's the thing. The body never leaves the now.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
body has never once left this present moment. Listen, I've gone all over the place. I've been in my past, I've been in my future, but the body has never left the present moment. It has never left the now. So if you want a reliable way of being in the now, you could just tune to that and you will find yourself back into this present moment.
Yeah. That is such a beautiful truth, isn't it? To keep just coming back to that, to know that our body is sitting right here in exactly what,
Always.
yeah, and it is utterly reliable. It cannot go anywhere
It
else.
can't go anywhere. It's ridiculous. It's like, oh, I think I need to do a whole thing and I need to live more in the now. I need to, right? It's like, well, you have a body, don't you? Have you ever found it anywhere other than now? Have you ever run into it somewhere? It was like always here and now. It's like, And you know, and there's whole things you got to do to get present and be here now and do all that stuff. And it's like, well, yeah, but you have a body.
I love your capacity to playfully help us to see how ridiculous so much of what we do is. It's
We are
fantastic.
hilarious. We're
We are
hilarious.
hilarious.
Yeah.
So, coming back to ease, because ease is a beautiful word, you know. It's like it dawned on me a few years ago that living in unease all the time was something that I could do something about, to a certain extent at least.
Right.
That I could actually start to, I think it was when I started to comprehend that I am here to live with joy and love and harmony, that it doesn't actually have to be the struggle that I kind of grew up thinking it had to be, you know? Struggle, striving, trying, working harder, working on yourself. All of that is all about efforting. And I did that for a long time and it didn't go so well for me. And my body screamed at me for some time until I heard. But the to actually start to turn yourself over to ease. I mean,
Mm.
it's revolutionary because it feels as if we're being irresponsible. It feels as if we're being I don't know, kind of frivolous. And yet ease is this, for me, this gentle, warm, sunny, spacious feeling inside myself where I now know when I'm feeling that I'm going in absolutely the right direction. I'm absolutely on track. And that when I start to experience then from that place of ease, flurry of tension, a flurry of anxiety, or my mood lowering, my energy sinking, then I know to kind of look around and get curious about that.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
why would I move away from that which is my flourishing? Why
Yeah.
would I move away from that which not only feels good for me, but feels good for me because it is good for me?
Yeah.
That it's that the signs all the time that that which feels resonant, harmonious, lovely, delicious, wonderful is that which is good for me. And yet, you know, I lived a lot of life kind of almost pushing that away, thinking I'm not allowed that. You know, that's you have those feelings occasionally as a treat, you know, you're not allowed to live like that for goodness sake.
Yeah.
Turns
Yeah.
out it would serve you well to live like that and not to come away from that.
Mm. It it's hard to accept, isn't it? I mean, that's like the Joseph Campbell who says, follow your bliss. Your bliss. I mean, bliss, that's like the highest energy within you. That is like such a high energy bliss, right? Well, what's being described there is this pure, unrestricted energy. Right? That's what bliss would be. Is that unrestricted? You know, the universe, God would live through you and be God. Oh my, like I can't even imagine, right? What would that be in this body? In this body would express a level of love, peace, understanding, joy. You can't even imagine. Unrestricted, that's what would happen, right? So Joseph Campbell said, follow your bliss, because that bliss, that blissful feeling is that feeling of you unrestricted, of you in pure ease. There'd be no effort in that feeling. It would be a total allowing of that intelligence that would be moving you to your highest good and the highest good for all. It would be of benefit to all.
I've been thinking a lot recently, just how much we miss the touch of that in our daily lives. I know I'm more open to that than I was 5 years ago, a year ago. I can see and feel that, but I know that my openness to it is a fraction of what openness is available. You know, that
Mm-hmm.
that divine, wise, loving, expansive call is going on all the time, is available all the time, is inviting me all the time in every single interaction, every single moment. And I miss it time and time again. I think someone's been annoying, or I think something's happening that shouldn't be happening. But how can it be annoying and how can it be happening that shouldn't be happening? It's just love showing up. It's the infinite saying hello in a different way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there's times when I'll find nowadays when I find myself caught in a contraction, in a moment of tension and resistance, and I'm more quickly now going to a place of, do I have to respond like that? You know, this is what is. So, and if this is love, and if there is nothing else but that, then can I be even just a fraction more amenable to that, open to that in myself and in terms of what's happening in the external world? And, that what that question comes with is a feeling of expansion. It's a feeling of possibility, which brings us back to where you started, that it's a sense of the question itself grows me,
Yeah.
and I come out of contraction even just a little bit and I'm more available. Well, how much more availability is possible?
Mm-hmm.
What else is
Yeah.
available? What can we grow into if we take
Yeah.
off the nonsense,
Right.
the resistance, the beliefs in the head?
That may be a good thing to um, clarify and uh, point to is that um, in all cases, what what contraction, resistance, unease, dis-ease is about is a focus. In all cases, it is simply a focus. So when I allow this energy and consciousness to move with ease, and it's expressing uniquely here, when my focus is uh, close to its focus, because that, the way we describe that energy, when we use words like we say it's love, it's pure love, appreciation of all, like that. When my focus is close to that focus, there is an ease because
Mm.
I'm riding it,
Yeah.
right? So I'm riding it, and I see children playing and love that, and see people helping each other, and I appreciate that that's happening and like that. So I'm riding the same energy and perspective. When my focus shifts and you know in judgment of something, that's a different focus.
Mm.
That's a different focus. It's a different thought, right? It's like, that's just wrong. Why are they doing that?
Mm.
That's That's not good. And so anytime my thinking shifts further from this intelligence, so as the animals, they wouldn't distinguish this thinking, they would just have that thinking. But for me, I can think and focus on anything. And so when my thinking starts to deviate from that, what is similar to that thinking, the further I go away from that thinking, the less intelligent it is.
Yeah.
If this is the most intelligent, then any thinking that starts to move
Yeah.
further from it is less intelligent. Well, what does that mean? Well, and I will feel it more and more and more and more.
As
The
unease.
close, yeah, the
Mm.
closer I am, I have ease. The further I go, the more in a state of dis-ease I am, in a more disharmonious state. So I can feel that. It's kind of like that distance is felt by me physically, but it is felt by me as that discomfort. And so, in a way, that's the guidance, that's the wisdom. It's all in the feeling, because you can never be in a moment in time that you are not feeling where your focus is. which is which is why the body's so important, because you could be in a moment in time denying what you are feeling.
Mm.
Yeah, my best friend died, but I'm okay. Right? Like, wait a minute, are you really? Like, yeah, sure, I was crying a moment ago, but I'm fine. Because I know everyone's eternal and there was not, like, it's kind of like, but you're not real. Like, you're not truly there. And if you're not truly there, then you have no guidance. If you are not where you are, you you cannot feel the guidance that takes you to thriving. In other words, this I think this is important, because if you imagine a GPS, a navigation system in a car, um, it has 2 points, right? The let's call it thriving, greater expansion of you, and then where you are now in that. With those 2 points, it locates where you are, and a signal comes to where you are. That signal is relevant to where you are, and it says you turn right, right? Because it's located you. Here's the trouble: I'm rarely where I am.
Mm.
So I'm rarely where I am. I'm like, how are you doing today? Well, I'm fine, perfectly fine. Yeah. Oh, but I heard you lost one of your biggest clients, or I heard you lost your job yesterday. I'm fine. Right. I know we're all eternal beings and that the jobs don't matter. Right? It's sort of like, what are you doing? Because there's like your wisdom, your inner guidance is sending a signal right to where you are, but you're not there. Because if you could feel from where you are, it would show you that movement toward more ease. No, I'm already at ease. I'm I'm already at ease. You're like, no, that doesn't work. That's Abraham. I love Abraham's quote on this. They said it would be like driving a car and you get the fuel gauge. The fuel gauge starts flashing empty, and you think that that's negative. So you put a happy face sticker over the top of it so you don't have to deal with this negative.
Mm.
and
Mm.
and Abraham's like, you want to see that signal and understand that signal completely, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the guidance you have, is the
Yeah.
signal tells you it's time for you to refuel. You need to replenish.
Yeah. I think this is so important that we need to come to meet what is being expressed, what is showing up in our being, don't we? We want to be staying in communication, in connection with this, with the present, with our body in the present. in the moment and hearing it and heeding it and coming towards it and not judging it, so that when we're tired and we're feeling tired of being tired, that's not a helpful response. That's not
Mm-hmm.
what's required of us.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that's required of us ever is the same thing that everything is, which is love. So the only thing, it seems to me, that actually works, heals, restores balance is that that which shows up is met with love. So whether it's my mood lowering or anger flaring or symptoms starting up or my body tensing or me feeling tired, whatever it is, that's intelligence right there at work. I don't need to fear it. I don't need to manage it. I don't need to dismiss it. I don't need to control it. I simply need to be lovingly present with it. And that's where all my energy is. That's where all my healing is. That's where all my possibility is, right here in loving connection with what is.
Mm. Yeah, that resonates.
Yeah.
And it will do everything.
Yeah, it will.
It will do everything. It will move everything. It will move you. It will inspire you. It only wants one thing, which is thriving and expansion. It is you experiencing itself uniquely. And the more it experiences itself, the more of itself it wants to experience. It is, Sydney Banks said there is only one will, and that is the will of God. And what is that will? What is that force? The only force, the only energy in all of the universe is, for all that is, to know itself and to experience itself in all the ways that it can. Infinite, never ending ways of knowing itself more and more and more and more. And you are an aspect of that. And that has only one energy, and that is to experience itself through you, to know itself through your perspective, and to experience more of itself through your perspective. And how it experiences itself is through expressing itself. It knows itself as love and experiences love through Rachel expressing love, which is experienced as the unique way which Rachel expresses love, is experiencing love. And from that experience, more of itself can be expressed and experienced. That is what thriving is, just more and more and more of that expressing, you becoming more of all that is.
Yeah. Yeah. More of you with capital Y.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
And which, comes back to what you were saying before about, well, and comes back to the beautiful feeling, that the more we're aligned to and experiencing love, peace, affinity, alignment, joy, connectedness, the closer we know we are to that fundamental, infinite, underlying intelligence.
Mm.
And
Sid,
the more optimally our whole being gets to function because there is just peace and ease. So, there's no wrinkles in the system. There's no knots in the system. Everything just gets to purr along.
yeah, yeah, Sid pointed a lot to the feeling, and he pointed it's a beautiful feeling. What you're looking for is the feeling. The a is some his statements were also quite strong in your wisdom. This wisdom, this intelligence is in a beautiful feeling. The wisdom is in a beautiful feeling. And it really speaks to that, because in the allowing is ease, feels good. The only thing that diminishes would be an opposition. It would, in other words, it's a river flowing, and you would just float along. There's no effort. It would be ease. But if you got it into your head that what you want is in the other direction, you, in a way, what you could say is there is no support for that.
Mm.
So where will you, if you got it into your head that what you want is in the other direction, you would have to exert that effort yourself. You would somehow have to go against the current. It would require a personal expenditure of energy, finite energy. When you
Mm.
go the other direction, you are not consuming an energy. You are flowing an energy through you. There's no consumption of an energy. When you turn it around to go opposite, what does opposite mean? What opposite means is opposed. Opposed to what? In all cases, resistance is a thought that is opposed to the truth of who you really are, your true nature, and the nature of reality. Any thought you hold that is opposed to what's true, the truth of who you really are, your true nature and the nature of reality, that thought is in opposition and it goes in the other direction. You cannot think a thought that is not true and not feel the disharmony within it. You cannot think a thought that is not true and feel the disharmony. You will feel the resistance, the dis-ease, the unease, the discomfort of that thought, which is why Sid said, your wisdom is in a beautiful feeling, because when you are thinking a thought which is true, it is the truth of who you really are, your true nature and the nature of reality, then you are flowing with intelligence. You go the other direction, you will feel that opposition immediately. You will feel that within you. And that is your guidance. It
Yeah.
will tell you when you've turned yourself around. And what do I do? What do I do if I've turned myself around? Well, if you were disoriented in a flowing river and somehow you found yourself turned around and you're rowing, and the effort would instantly tell you. But if you would just stop, the whole thing would just reorient. You'll be fine. All you do is just stop and the whole thing will turn you around, and it will just keep taking you down in
Yeah.
that way.
Gosh, that's such a powerful metaphor. That's really, really powerful. There's so much in that that's helpful.
Mm.
I love that.
It is amazing. We are so blessed. It's so amazing. There's nothing to figure out. You don't have to solve this. You don't need to do anything. It's like if you just let go, it turns itself around and then you're headed the other direction. Now, let's be clear. This is a physical existence where you are moved, right? So you didn't come here sort of to magically experience things. You're here because of the physical. You wanted to be physical. So when the thing turns around, what you will see is differences physically and difference in physical, even your own actions. because you were going this way and there's certain actions and behaviors that you're taking and words you're speaking and all of that stuff. Well, once you turn that thing around, even the actions start to change. I don't want to eat that. It's going to make me throw up. I don't want that. I want this other stuff, right? Like I want this food. This food feels lighter. This feels easier to me. This feels right. And depending where you're at, something is like a serious problem, then you're led by path of least resistance, the easiest path. You're led to, again, everything for your thriving. Everything for your thriving is like, what? I shouldn't be taking a medicine. If I was truly spiritual, I wouldn't be taking the medicine. I know, but this is unique to you. This is given where you are. This is specific to you in this moment and what your desires are, and everything that's come before. All of it's included in this intelligence, and it takes the path of least resistance, the most allowance, the easiest path. And so for you, not for anybody else, but for you, that is the easiest path.
Yeah.
But don't be telling someone else to do that, because that may not be their easiest path, right? So you can trust it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's crucial, isn't it? That it's our way through will be utterly unique and
Yes.
will be what feels right for us in the moment, and sometimes may go against our own beliefs.
Yes.
In
Yeah.
fact, quite often will go against our own
Right.
beliefs
It's
and
like, but I
challenge that.
shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
I know better than that. I'm
Yeah.
spiritual. I know we're connected to whatever. And
Yeah.
I can't believe that I would have to do this. And
Yeah.
it's like, follow your wisdom, follow your guidance. It's that noise will get in the way. There's an
Mm.
ease, and it's like, it's basically what it's doing. What it's doing is it's working around your resistance and your beliefs. This is another kind of funny thing, is that God is so loving. This universe is so loving. It never judges or criticizes you ever. You want to believe that, meaning, oh, you want to believe that? I'll say it with my humor. Oh, you want to believe that nonsense? That's okay. You can live and experience that nonsense. I can go around it,
Yeah.
right? So the way I say this often is, oh, you actually believe it takes hard work in order to earn a living and have enough money so that you have food, shelter, and all of that stuff. That's fine. You can work hard and effort, and you'll have enough food, shelter, and all of that. It's fine if that's what you believe. God never judges your belief. God never says, oh my God, why would you believe that? You can believe what you believe, and you are still provided for to each according to their belief, so that you can experience your own thinking fully, which helps you to decide if you want to continue to think that.
Mm.
It helps you to clarify.
Yes. This feels so rich, but I'm very aware of time and your precious time. So I wonder, is there anything that kind of just drops in for you that you feel like you would want to say before we complete today?
um, I think that it's really, so words don't teach. Your own life experience will teach you. So I think there's a couple of things for people listening. One is, you can trust yourself. You can hear this talk and our conversation, and some things will resonate with you. And then you do not blame us for that, because that's your wisdom, right? It
Mm.
wasn't, I said something profound, Rachel said something really profound. there's, Dominic's got all this wisdom or something. It's never going to be this, because I can assure you that people will listen to this recording and they'll go, man, that was a load of crap. There was a lot of nonsense they talked about, right? Because it doesn't resonate.
Mm.
When it resonates, don't blame us. What it does is it resonates with the truth deep within you.
Yeah.
We just happened to say it in a particular way. It rang true. It kind of vibrated with it. And what you heard is what actually you heard within you, not you. You didn't get what we said anyway. You really got what you heard. And that's now what you need to go by. It's like where Sid said, throw the tape out the window. If you're listening to my talk and you hear something great and you are in a good feeling, just pop it out of the car and throw it out the window, because you got like the truth that came through you. And so I wanted to say that, because then the part I want to say is that you can trust.
Mm.
And by the way, if you caught a little bit of that, there's so much more where that came from.
Mm.
That came from within you. And let me tell you, it's not just so much more where that came from. All of it is where that came from. It's like everything you want is where that came from. And it's all within you, and you can find it, and you can allow more and more of it to come through. Yeah.
It's infinite. It'll never
Yes.
stop coming through. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much,
Thank
Dominic.
you.
That's been such an amazing conversation. I kind of feel like I could just go on for another hour and a half or something. Maybe we'll have to come back and do a part three. So,
Beautiful.
if people would like to get in touch and connect with you,
Yeah.
where can they go? Yeah.
Easiest is if you take my name, dominicscafidi.com, and on that site, you'll see the connections all over the place. So there's a lot of free resources on my site, lots of webinar replays and different even courses and things that are free. And so you'll see that on my site. You'll see any current programs that I'm offering will also be there. And then you'll see links to things like my Facebook page. And then my most favorite is my Facebook group. And so that is my group is called Ask and It Is Given. And we explore how thoughts become things. And so we're that group. You will find me very active in there and quite engaged in there and exploring these kinds of conversations. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Thank you. And I can attest to so many of those resources being absolutely wonderful. So thank you for making so much available as well. I will
Right.
put your details in the show notes and make sure people can get to you. Thank you so much, Dominic. That's been absolutely wonderful to talk to you.
Thank you. This has been great. Thanks.